What is up, gamers? It's your Average Joe with Average Joe Raids. Today we are going to talk about how to speed tune a clan boss team. So again, I've got a Reddit post in front of me. This one comes from Gunty1 on the Raid Shadow Legends Reddit, and he is looking for some more damage where he can push this comp to a 1-key Nightmare or do Ultra Nightmare 2 or 3 key. So he's using a Demitha and a Roshkard the Tower team. And then he's also has Steel Skull here, Geomancer, and Venus. So Geomancer and Venus are going to be able to pump out a ton of damage, especially for an unkillable team. But for Geomancer, he is losing a lot of damage because this is a block damage team instead of an unkillable team. So I commented on this. He shows some of his champions here. Namely, the biggest one I think is Cardiel with the ally attack. And so I had commented here, is Steel Skull necessary for the stun? I wasn't super familiar with the team, and I'm saying I think that you can speed tune Cardiel so that he's always cleansing the stun, and then you can also get more damage out of him from the ally attack. And so I went ahead and I checked out on Deadwood Jedi's site. If you've never been there, deadwoodjedi.com, and they have tons of clan boss resources. Definitely go. I'll put the link in the description below. And I found the Demitha and Roshkard the Tower team, and I went ahead and pulled up the speed calculator for it. So this is the Deadwood Jedi speed calculator, if you've never seen this. And basically what it's showing is the clan bosses turn from left to right and then down. So turn 1 is when he does the first AoE, and then he goes to turn 2, AoE 2, and you can see everyone who takes a turn before AoE 2. AoE 2 hits, and then everyone takes their turn, and then there's the stun. And then you go to the next row, and you have everyone that takes a turn, and then AoE 1 comes out. And then on and on and on. And it goes up to the 50 turns where the run ends for block damage and unkillable teams. So this is the speed calculator. This is the specific calc for Demitha and the Roshkard the Tower team. It has 2 War Boys in here for the DPS, so we could assume that this would be Geomancer. Well, let's say Venus is 1 speed faster. I don't think it really matters. But we're going to say Venus and Geomancer in these slots. And actually, because Geomancer's damage is coming off of his A3 having a burn on the clan boss, we're going to completely disable Venus's A3, which places an HP burn. And so to do that here in the clan boss calculator, you're just going to take the delay. This would be if you never ever want to use the skill, then you use the delay column. If you want to use the skill for the very first time and then never use it again, then you would put this in the cooldown column. But basically for her A3, which is placing the burn, we're just going to put a 500 turn delay. And so she's never going to use her A3 in here. When you look at the yellow slots, that's Venus. She's only using her A1 and her A2. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. The second thing is we're going to make sure that Geomancer's, his A3, the burn that he places, goes on right before the first AoE, so that it's on during the 2 AoE attacks and can get as many procs as possible. So to do that, we're going to delay the A3, and we actually have to delay it twice. And so what that means is you're going to have to manual a little bit at the beginning of the run. He'll open with his A2 because there's no delay on his A2. Then you will use his A1 skill, and then you can auto him and he'll go back into his A3. So that's a little bit of setup. I'm sure that Gunky1 already does that. But here is the Doom Priest, and we have Doom Priest in this comp going first right after the clan boss, so that she cleanses the debuff right after the clan boss goes. And so the one issue with this would be that if you're using a Doom Priest, you would have to make sure that Doom Priest is not the stun target, and she can never be the stun target, or else it would get a little bit off. I guess alternatively, she could be the stun target, and then she's the only one stunned through this first run, and then she gets over at the next run. But we're going to slot in Cardiel here. And so you can see here, Cardiel is going first. And we want to make sure that his A2 is always being used on right before the stun, basically, for the block buffs before the stun. And so his A2, actually we might be able to put it on before the AoE 2. We'll play around with it. But basically right now, the way Cardiel is, his cooldowns are high enough to where when he's going at a 1-to-1 like this, it's not consistent. So you can see here on turn 15, he has an A1, turn 16, A1, turn 17, A3. Turn 18, A2, turn 19, A1, turn 20, A1. So when I say consistent, you would see for each row you have an AoE, an AoE, a stun. And you want to get into like the flow, you want your characters to have the same moves before each clan boss move. So that would mean before every AoE 1, Cardiel is going to do an A1. Before AoE 2, he's going to do an A2. And before the stun, he's going to do an A3, something like that. And so the way it is now, Cardiel is having to switch, he's switching his skills every single run, which tells me that he has to go faster to get the skills off cooldown and then be able to use them again. So another team I'm kind of familiar with is the Ultimate Budget Unkillable team. And on that team, Painkeeper is running at a 223 speed. So there are kind of speeds that you see very often, like 180 is, I think, a 2-to-3 ratio speed. I believe 223 is a 1-to-1 speed. Faster would be like a 3-to-2 speed. So I'm going to go with 223 just to see what happens, and then we'll go from there. So you can see here we're still not we're not in sync because every row looks different. And so I'm going to start just pumping up from 223 and we'll see if we can get into sync. There you just saw a big shift, but we're still not in sync because you can see turn 29 here on the right and turn 32 on the right don't look the same. So we're going to keep going up. And I believe right here at 229, you can see that all of our AoE 1 boss moves look the same. We have Cardiel A1, Roshguard A1, Venus A1, Geomancer A3, Cardiel A1, Demitha A1, Roshguard A3. You go down to turn 21, the exact same order, the exact same moves. Down to turn 24, the exact same order, the exact same moves. Same on the other columns. So turn 19, 22, 25, turns 20, 23, 26. You can see that we are in sync now so that each row looks the same as the previous row. And you can see here that we get into sync on turn 6 for this. So you can see turn 3 is not the same as turn 6. So usually this happens, it takes a couple rotations before your team gets into sync. I've had some that get into sync after turn 9 and some take as long as turn 12. This team looks like it's getting into sync at turn 6 and then it's in sync the rest of the time. And RDL is using his A2, which gives a block buffs right before the stun. And so that's going to prevent anyone from getting stunned, which won't mess up any of the where people are using their skills. Like it won't delay anything. And so that makes the run stay consistent. So what I want to do here, this is actually what I did for Gunky earlier. And I think I told him the speed 229 is where we see that change. When we go down to 228, it's no longer consistent because you can see here the columns don't look the same. And so when you go up to 229, that's where we find our consistency. Now there is a range. This doesn't happen for every team, but it looks like here I can put Cardiel up. So he's up to 232, 234, 236, 238, and 239 is where that changes. And it actually changes and is still consistent, surprisingly. I don't think I noticed this earlier when I did this. So it's still they're still in sync and it's still consistent. So we may just actually be able to leave it like this. Oh, but see, the problem here is before the AoE 2 moves on the boss, Cardiel is taking a turn after Demitha's after the block damage, but before the stun, and so he'll take damage there. So the range on this speed tune would be 229 to 238 that Cardiel could be. So we're just going to leave it at 229 because that would be easiest. And then actually if you do 230, that kind of gives you a little bit of leeway in case you have like Lore of Steel or some different perception or speed sets. So 230 for Cardiel would be the speed. Now we have his A2 going off before the stun, but if you give it, if you give the skills some, there might be a way that we can make it to where his A2 actually goes off in the middle right before the move 2. It doesn't seem like anything I'm doing is actually making it do that. So I'm just playing around with the delays right now on his skills to see if I can get his A2 to land right there. So 3 turn delay on his A3 puts his A2 right before the boss's AoE 2, but, and I believe that works because the way that these buffs work on Deadwood Jedi's sight is when the buff is completely when it's a solid color, that means it's on, and when it's a faded color, that means it's on for that turn, and then it's falling off of your champion. And so you can see here the block debuff icon, which at turn 13, after Cardiel's A2, the block debuff icon comes up, and it's up for everyone here. It's the last buff in the order. And then through after A2, it's everyone's on for A2 AoE 2 into turn 14. Everyone takes their turn and they still have a solid colored block buffs icon, which means once they get to the stun, everyone will still have block buffs. And then on turn 15, you can see starting with Roshkard the Tower's turn, the green line, the block debuff, the block debuff icon becomes like translucent where you can kind of see through it. So it's falling off of Roshkard. It looks like it stays on Venus, but it falls off Geomancer, falls off Cardiel, falls off Mytha. So that means that this should be able to be affinity friendly because I believe Spirit Affinity's speed debuff comes on with the AoE 2 from the boss. And so so the we have a block debuffs here from the A2, and it blocks that first speed. Yeah, I believe that since the very beginning, everyone should have block debuffs on. You block the decreased speed, which lets this be able to run with Spirit Affinity, and then this is completely affinity friendly, and you don't have to worry about it. So the A2 goes on before the boss's AoE 2, and then stays on for the stun. And so that's just kind of playing around with speeds, playing around with the delays. Once you get everything in sync with the speeds, then it's just where are the abilities landing on the turn. So playing around with the delays is what changes that. And that's how you speed tune a clan boss team if you want to make a substitution to one. Now, I've never done one from scratch, so I always take a speed tune from Deadwood Jedi's site, and then I change it in the way that I want it to change. So another example I have here today is this is a team from, I believe, both Soda Dragon and also YST. They ran an Infinity-ish comp without Krisk, so they used Taragi. And then I believe instead of Geomancer here, they're going to use Iron Brago for his increased defense and his passive defense buff. I'm subbing in Geomancer, so this is the team I'm running right now for Clan Boss. It's not fully working because my Brogni isn't fully booked out, but Geomancer does a ton of damage. We last until about turn 40, so I'm still downing Ultra Nightmare and Nightmare every day, but it's just not to the level that I want to be doing it at. And I took this team, and I thought, I can't, this is not an infinity team, so the shield's coming off and going back on. So you're only able to live through like maybe 60 turns. And so I thought, I have enough buff extenders that if I sub out Lydia the Death Siren, and I sub out Geomancer, and I put buff extenders in their place, then I should be able to create a infinity team without Krisk. And so, you know, peek that a little bit. I'll be releasing a video on that once I'm able to get it up and running. But basically, I took this team, I put in a second Godseeker Aniri, I put in a Demitha, and so now I'm running 3 buff extenders here. I have Taragi for the ally protection, and then I also have Underpriest Brogni for his shield and his increasing the shield, which is the only character in the game that can do that. So you can see here, Brogni, I want his A3 to not be used because I want to make sure that I'm preserving the original buffs that are put on and not putting new ones on, so that I know that this is a big shield that's building up and up. So I put a 500 cooldown on Brogni's A3 so that he only uses it on the very first turn, and then he never reuses that skill. Same thing for Taragi's, for his A2, 500 delay, so that he never uses his A2, so that he's always using his A1 to land the decrease attack. And then for the cooldown of his A3, I put a 500 cooldown so that he only uses it once. I actually, right here, before the very first AoE, he uses his A3 once. His shields should not replace Brogni's shields because Brogni's shields will still have a 2-turn cooldown, I think. If they do, that's fine. But then that gets the ally protection on. And then after that, Brogni and Taragi never use their A3s again. And all we're doing is using 2 Godseeker Neries and Demitha to increase the buff duration on these champs. And so you can see here, like down by turn 7, you know, things should have fallen off by now. But you can see here on turn 7, maybe turn 6 is better to look at because everyone's going once. Everyone still has the increased attack and the block debuffs from Brogni's A3, and then also the shield and the ally protection from Taragi's A3. So everyone still has that on by turn 6, and then you can scroll down and it actually never falls off. And the only thing that's ever falling off is Demitha's block damage, which we actually want to happen so that the clan boss is damaging the shields, and then Brogni's passive can do damage via that. And then we also have continuous heals going on from Demitha's A3 when she does her A3. And we actually have the A3 coming on in front of the stun, so then potentially it will protect a stun target. But since block debuffs is on, we don't really care who the stun target is. And so this is a team that I am very excited to try out. I just farmed all the masteries for it today. Godseeker Aniri, my second Godseeker Aniri, still needs booked out, so I'm quite a few books away. All I really need is her A2 though, so I'm going to be pouring in all my epic books to her. Hopefully I will have this comp running. I'm planning to, I've never seen this comp anywhere else. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I'm going to name it Bromitha. So if you keep an eye out for a video of the Bromitha clan boss build, we'll see if we can get this into a 1-key. And yeah, so that's how you use the Deadwood Jedi clan boss calculator. You can kind of mess around with speeds, mess around with delays, cooldowns, throw in some champions. You can find a speed tune on the site and then modify it to fit the champions that you use. So let me know if this was helpful, if you guys use this site or if you're going to use it now. And shout out to Gunky1, I believe. Yeah, Gunty1. Thanks for your Reddit post. This is the kind of stuff that drives me to make videos, so I appreciate it. And stay average, my friends. I will see you in the next one. Bye.